Well, back home, it was a wet weekend for many, with much-needed rain quenching the thirst of farms. With me now is Federated Farmers Chief Executive Conor, who is just back from the World Farmers Organization General Assembly in Japan. So before we get to talking about the WFO, let's talk about the weather. It has been a very wet weekend for some areas. Are farmers feeling relieved, or is something else weighing on their minds now?
No, look, the rain is very welcome. There has been a big deficit and it's great to see this rain coming through most parts of the country.
But given that the temperatures seem to have dropped as well, does that hinder grass growth?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we are sort of in autumn, sort of coming into winter. And I mean, I think the thing that people need to understand is even though we've got this rain, it doesn't fill up the hay barns, it doesn't fill up the silage pits that have been emptied over the last several weeks, where farmers have been feeding out their winter feed to the animals to keep them going through this time.
Well, on that note, just last week, Westpac economists came out and said that they estimated that the economic impact, of the drought would be near zero. What is your response to that?
Well, that's an interesting perspective. That's certainly not the view that Treasury have been espousing, or the view that we have. What we know is that there's less milk produced than there otherwise would be. Quite a big cut-off in the amount of milk that's being produced. We know that our sheep and beef farmers have been impacted quite dramatically, actually, in that they've been selling stock for half the amount that they were selling this time last year. There will definitely be a financial impact on our farmers and on those rural communities.
Well, let's talk about some positive news then for the agriculture sector. You've been at the World Farmers Organization conference in Japan, and you've made a breakthrough. What does this mean for our trade negotiations?
Oh, look, what we managed to get there, along with our Australian counterparts and others from South America, was agreement by 50 organisations from 50 different countries to agree essentially to going down the pathway to more trade liberalisation. And I think there's a recognition that we've got a lot of people to feed on the planet, and we need to have freer trade. So this time last year, that organisation was actually looking at going in the other direction, and now we're looking at going in the direction of freer trade. So for countries like New Zealand, with Japan, for example, just on our meat products, we paid $96 million in tariffs last year. If we can make some progress there, and there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, that would be money we wouldn't have to pay in tariffs, for example.
So does this agreement between the WFO actually hold any sway with the WTO, with agriculture being a sticking point in so many of our trade negotiations?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it going to help some of them get across the line? Yeah,
look, it's a step in the right direction. Look, with all these trade negotiations, you have politician to politician discussions, you have official to official discussions, and you have farmer to farmer discussions. And what every politician in every country does is listens to their farmers, generally speaking, to see what they think. And what this agreement tells those politicians in countries like Japan is that their farmers are actually supportive of liberalising trade. Up until we had this agreement, they were suggesting that we shouldn't liberalise trade.
Is it sometimes, though, that sounds great in principle, but when they look at how it might actually affect their incomes, they're not so keen on it?
Yeah, look, it can be challenging, but part of what we were trying to do was to alleviate the fears of some of the farmers. I mean, the Japanese farmer, the average size of their farm is 2.2 hectares. Over half of them are over 65 years old, with an average of approaching 70. They know they need to change what they're doing. And look, we can understand the apprehension of them sometimes being a bit reluctant to do that. But the good thing is we've got the agreement that's heading in the right direction. Japan now has been looking like it's coming into the TPP. So it's all heading in the right direction rather than the wrong direction. So that's what we're very, very pleased about.
That does sound like good news. Thank you very much, Conor from Federated Farmers.
Thank you.